Ben, what is your favorite horror movie trope? Did you just forget every trope? My favorite trope is ghost hunters. I love a good ghost hunter movie. I love a found footage movie. I love a found footage ghost hunter movie. I like social commentary. I really enjoyed, obviously, Grave Encounters. Maddie and I watched a movie that was also found footage and kind of ghost hunters. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like this guy who's live streaming. He breaks into a house and he's live streaming himself in the house, the haunted house. And I don't know, it was just really funny. A good time. I don't enjoy the Hell House LLC movies because they really scare me and stress me out. So I guess that means they're good.
I don't know, I guess I'm more of like a slasher, you know, the real monsters are people kind of person. I don't know. Anything can be good. Found footage is really hard to be good, in my opinion. A lot of it feels like this is my second year of film school.
That's exactly what Dana said. She's just like, a shaky camera is just says to me, you don't know how to film. Do you have a favorite slasher or The Man is the Real Monster movie?
So, favorite slasher, and I think you might even agree on this one. In a Violent Nature is fantastic. It's really stripped down, not as cheesy, and just really well done. Without getting into too many spoilers, like the soundtrack is super minimal. Being alone in nature is scary enough. Not being alone in nature is even scarier. And there is a final girl, but there's not like a great, satisfying ending to it.
Which was kind of the best part of it. I really enjoyed that movie. It was definitely, I think, I don't know if it's like one of my favorite horror movies because it's not one I ever really want to see again, but it's definitely going to be up there with when I think of like best overall quality horror movies. I would say really high up there. Okay, so what did you think of Barbarian?
I thought it was good. I think it did a very good job of subverting expectations. I think that was kind of its biggest strength. And yeah, good visuals, great jump scares, a little bit of comedy. Yeah, overall, I was a fan.
So you went into this movie not knowing anything about it, is that right?
Correct.
So I went into this movie having first read the Wikipedia summary, and then I listened to an entire podcast episode basically describing in detail what happened. And after I listened to that episode, because the reason I don't really I used to listen to a lot of horror movie podcasts, and since we started this one, I don't listen to them as much. I don't want to, I don't want to accidentally plagiarize someone. But if I don't think I'm going to watch the movie, but I'm really intrigued by it, I will listen to an episode because I want to know all the gory details, literally. And I read the Wikipedia. So I think I'd heard about Barbarian and everyone was talking about how good it was. So it was free on Tubi for a little bit. We didn't actually watch it on Tubi. We rented it, but it was free on Tubi. And so I was looking at the Wikipedia to see, is there anything in here that's going to disturb me? And I read the synopsis and I was like, fuck no, I don't want to watch that. That sounds horrible. But I was curious. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I listened to an episode where they talked about everything about it, shared every single thing about it. And that made me want to watch it. And so we did. So yeah, I guess my question is, after that whole long spiel, what was your impression of the movie having not known what to expect?
Yeah. Part of the reason I like to come in kind of blind to these things is I like to enjoy the misdirect. And I think they did a really good job, actually a couple of times during the build-up of this movie, was it Bill Skarsgård?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our
Wait, should we do the 60-second recap and then dive into the plot?
yeah, we should probably do the recap first.
Okay. So I'm going to pull up a coin flipper and then a timer app. Okay. Ready, set, pop up. Ready, set, flip the coin. Wait, we didn't call it. Heads or tails?
I'm gonna stick with tails.
Okay. Flip the coin. It's tails. You get to do the recap again.
Okay, I'm really bad at these, but we'll try.
Okay, when you're ready.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, so film opens with our main character showing up to Airbnb middle of the night. It's raining. It sucks, right? Nobody wants to be outside. Meets our second character, played by Bill Skarsgård. Kind of your average, like kind of sketchy, kind of not guy. They explore the house. It's in a bad neighborhood in Detroit. Some weird stuff happens. Find a secret room in the basement. And some tunnels going places. Our second character is really curious, disappears in the tunnel. Whole bunch of wild stuff happens. Meet some people that have been living in the tunnels, and violence ensues from there. So, yeah.
You got 8 seconds left. Do you want to say anything right now?
Justin Long is a scumbag, but he's good at it.
Excellent job. Okay, so now what were you going to say about Bill Skarsgård?
Yeah, so he's kind of the first misdirect. You know, we open on a weird situation. Nobody's comfortable. And I think he does a really excellent job of being kind of sketchy, but kind of not.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he plays well intentioned and actually is, but because everyone's kind of in this heightened state from the bad situation, it seems like he's going to be not a good guy.
Yeah. So Bill is just an awkward guy, not a bad guy. Bill, whose name is Keith in the movie. And Georgina Campbell is Tess.
Yeah, so Keith seems like a decent dude. I mean, we know he's a good actor, right? And does a really good job of being genuinely a decent guy, but just awkward enough that he seems really off and like he might just be someone that stabs our main character in her sleep.
And I think you come into a horror movie with expectations because you know, okay, this is a horror movie. What's going to happen? Something's going to happen. And maybe all you know about it, you know, like the only information you have is either what you've seen in the trailers or what you've seen on screen, which is, yeah, this woman showing up in the middle of the night to an unfamiliar area, cannot get a hotel room. It's terrible weather out and has to stay in a house with this man who's acting kind of weird. So yeah, that's the obvious conclusion. At what point did the twist surprise you? At what point did you realize that maybe Bill was not the villain? Keith was not the villain.
So this one's kind of a hard one because as someone who's watched a lot of horror movies, you also expect a misdirect. So you're like, yeah, he's sketchy, but that's way too obvious, right? But they do a good job of kind of intensifying that through the first few scenes. You know, he's really insistent on checking out this abandoned room, and it feels like kind of an ambush thing is about to happen. But that ends up not being the case. And I think from then on, you know, it's played fairly straightforward of like, no, he's really in trouble. And like, now we're all on the same page. And then he dies shortly after. So we don't have to worry about that anymore.
What did you think in that scene where she wakes up, her door is open, she goes to check, she thinks Keith maybe opened her door. She goes to check on him because she hears these kind of alarming noises coming from the living room that almost sound like he's being attacked. He's having like a nightmare, a very loud nightmare, I guess. And then you see a shadow disappear into like someone disappear into what we later discover is the basement. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that was a pretty good scene. They also play up the setting. I mean, this is in one of the sketchier neighborhoods in Detroit, so like just normal home invasion is a really real possibility. And they do a good job of like the next morning reveal of the neighborhood. You know, our main characters are in the only semi-inhabited house in the entire neighborhood. And everything else is broken down, bunch of graffiti. And on the house right across the street, there's actually it's tagged on the door, "Death from Below," which kind of is a teaser that, hey, there's something going on underneath these houses, which, a little heavy-handed, but a good detail, I think.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even notice. So yeah. I guess you can slap me right in the face and I won't even know. I thought that their use of setting in this film was really well done. Like they were very intentional in not only selecting Detroit, but like I like when people use details to their fullest potential. And I think they really did that. There were so many aspects of this film that were really well done. And actually, it had the potential to be quite, I would say maybe it is disturbing. I didn't come away from it disturbed. It had the potential to be quite disturbing to me. But I liked that the choices they made editorially avoided anything truly, like they let your imagination do the work. I guess, what did you think when it cut from Tess and Keith in the basement encountering the mother to Justin Long? Wait, and also, can we talk about how scary it was when Keith scampers, like runs at her on all fours in the basement? That I think might have been the scariest moment. That man knows how to be creepy. And then not only does he do that, but then he's like, something bit me. So scary. You will never go in a basement ever again after watching that movie.
Yeah, so something running at you in a tunnel is just one of those primal fears, I think. Like, it will never not be kind of scary. I've done that to people in person. Uh, do we want a real life story?
Sure, I would love that.
So, yeah, I do construction, and that involves working in tunnels sometimes. And the fastest way to get around is to run like some possessed child on hands and feet. And a very large coworker of mine, very nonchalantly, was like, "Hey, that's fucking terrifying. Please don't do that again."
Yeah. Yeah. And Ben knows one of the things I find scariest in any horror movie, like this always gets me, is running at you. Like, I don't care what the movie it is. I don't care how not subtle it is. Someone running at you is always scary to me. I'm thinking specifically of Smile 2 right now. Where okay, like in Smile 2, he's going to, they're like the buildup. You know he's going to run at you and it's still scary.
Yeah, that's a great classic scare. Another thing that they did in this movie that I really enjoyed is kind of our main antagonist is one of those things that runs at you in tunnels, right? We know that it's scary. Great. Later in the movie, Justin Long's character is getting chased through the tunnel. Our antagonist is running after him, gets him backed up against the door, and then leaves. And like, as scary as something running at you in a tunnel is, something's scaring that thing off, you know it's bad.
Yeah.
Like whatever's on the other side of that door is just awful.
Yeah.
So I think that was well executed.
So well executed. It says so much without saying anything, literally. And I like that they didn't really hold your hand with this movie. I guess they had the death from below sign that you were just talking about, but I thought in general they didn't need to hold your hand. I want to know your thoughts about, like, okay, they go in this really creepy basement. What are you thinking as, like, Tess is exploring the basement and there's a murder room and then there are the cages and then they encounter the mother? Like, before we find out more, what are you thinking at that point? How are you understanding this movie? Did you have any theories about what was going on?
So can I go on a tangent here about
Please.
word stuff?
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
I mean, that is part of it. So, name of the movie, Barbarian, right? And we have kind of the classical English speaking interpretation of barbarians or things that are barbaric. Like, there's going to be some violence, right? And some just antisocial behavior. They make a point too that this house is on Barbary Street, which
I didn't even notice that. I wasn't even on my phone. I was watching the movie intently and I didn't even see that. Oh my God.
So, at the risk of English teachering this,
I love English teaching.
which, just to be clear, like, that's the thing that I say when, like, you can find connections, but you don't know if they're intentional. So it could be that they're just like, yeah, this sounds like the title, let's do it. But I have to wonder about the intentionality if they're also trying to reference like Barbary Coast, slave trade, all that stuff. Because that does hold up with the plot too of like this is a very long running like abduction slavery type of situation, which they kind of hint to in a flashback and then is part of the big reveal at the end. Yeah.
Keep talking. You're saying you didn't answer my question.
So with that and the visuals of the cages, you're like, oh, something's been going on for a really long time. Like this isn't just one home invasion, one creepy situation. Like something really bad just lives here. And yeah, that ends up being very literal. You still kind of think that Keith could be the bad guy, like it's his house and he's just picking people off. That ends up not being the case, but you're like, yeah, that could still be a possibility.
Yeah. Do we want to talk any more about the plot or the substance of the movie? Things you liked, things you didn't like? Like I was saying, I think they made a lot of really good editorial choices and didn't hold the audience's hand. One of those examples would be when they do the flashback and they show the real villain, the real monster, which is Frank, who is a serial killer. They go back to, when would that be? The 50s, did it look like? And they show him, stalking a woman, and he goes into her house under the guise of being like a repairman. He's wearing a jumpsuit and he goes in the bathroom, turns on the water, unlocks the window. That's it. They don't have to say more than that. We know what's happening. Oh, and then he goes back to the house and opens the basement door and you hear the screams. I liked that a lot. And then later when Justin Long is in Frank's bedroom, you see that woman's dress. And like, yeah, you don't have to say any more than that. We understand. And I really liked the way they incorporated the credits, like the title screen. Is that what you call it? The title screen or title credits? And the end credits, perfectly timed, just so well done. Things I didn't love about the movie, I feel like towards the end, it got a little goofy. just with Andre, like this scene where, they're hiding out with Andre and he's like, she hasn't come here. I've been here 15 years and she hasn't found me. And then the mother like bursts through the wall and tears his arm off and beats him to death with his arm. Like, I don't know. It was pretty goofy. That was kind of like, it didn't feel to me like it fit the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I think the movie did have a little bit of an identity crisis there. Like, do we want to be, really gritty, or do we want to be like kind of fun and tropey? I will say that being a little goofy made it a way less disturbing watch, and it wasn't entirely bad, but it was a little strange and a little disruptive. Yeah, so more like word nerd and English teacher stuff.
This is why I married you.
So, going a little bit into the lore here, we were both in a class in freshman year of high school.
You're embarrassing me. No, just kidding.
And, it was all the little nerds learning about, Greek and whatever mythology. And one of the things that I remember was the term barbarian actually came from that region, and it was really just xenophobia encapsulated because they're like, these foreigners just sound like they go bar, bar, bar all the time. And, our main antagonist kind of does that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's not really evil. She's the product of generations of inbreeding and isolation, and really is trying to connect with our main characters, but in kind of a fucked up way because there's no perspective there and can't speak normally, whatever, and is kind of that blah, 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 So that fits very well with the title, I think. And yeah, this is not a pure evil person. It's just someone who's maybe not running at 100% and has lived in a tunnel her whole life.
Yeah, and we don't even know anything about who raised her. She's scared of Frank, who at this point he's like confined to his bed. And so clearly did not have a good upbringing with Frank. Oh my gosh, I was totally going to say something about the mother. Oh, just the funny moments. I mean, it's going to make me sad if I analyze them, but like thinking about the moments where I'm going to look at it from a comedy lens of she's taking Justin Long to go breastfeed him because he won't take his bottle. And to do this, she drags him. Is she dragging him by his foot or something? Like very roughly. It is a horrible drag. It is scary. It is like, you're like, what is she going to do to him? And then she is very tender with him also because he's her baby. So, and she boops him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the vibe you get is like a toddler with a doll, but now that toddler's like 7 feet tall and can break through a concrete wall.
Yeah. Was the movie scary for you?
Is it too early to do the numbers?
Go for it.
Okay. So I'd put it at like a 5, 4.5, 5 for scary. I didn't find it exceptionally disturbing, and some of the gore is off screen, but really good jump scares. Again, everybody loves a good tunnel scare. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just enough light to see something running at you. Weird noises. Great tunnel scares. Good jump scares. And I think in the first act, they really do a good job of just building up that uncomfortable tension of like, who can you trust? Is it anyone? Also, throughout the movie, you definitely can't trust the police. that you can't at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right about that. Was it scary for me? Hell yes. This movie, I knew what was going to happen and when, and it scared me the entire time, probably from the moment you see that shadow while she's checking on Keith. Yeah, so very good tension, but I loved it because it was so scary, but it didn't disturb me. It didn't traumatize me, which I feel like is so hard to find that these days. Like, it was just pure scare, and it was the kind of scare that gets me. I loved it for that reason. So I would probably give it like an 8 out of 10. I think we've kind of talked about how the filmmakers manipulated the audience's fears. They're, yeah, subverting expectations. They're setting up expectations, then subverting them. They are using darkness and the unknown, I think, was they're letting your imagination do the work for a lot of it. And there are things like, Justin Long, he was so, oh my gosh. I have to say, I don't typically like, sorry, unpopular opinion, I don't typically like either Bill Skarsgård or Justin Long, and I loved them in this movie. They were so well cast. And Justin Long was so funny where he's like measuring, he's going to sell his house and he's measuring the creepy basement for extra square footage. And he gets to the basement just gets creepier and creepier. And he's just like, fuck yes. But at one point he's measuring, he finds a really creepy room that there's like a TV playing. And then his measuring tape gets pulled away from him. So scary. Has that ever happened to you? Is it going to happen to one of your coworkers?
It might. That's a good prank. But yeah, and I think that's, again, like, really excellent way of playing on the primal fears. Like, no one's afraid of being alone in the dark. We're afraid of not being alone in the dark.
Yeah, that's so true. I never thought of it that way, but that's what the fear of the dark is. Did you have anything else to add about how the filmmakers evoked or manipulated the audience's fear?
I think through the build up and the reveal, it kind of takes you on that roller coaster of like, this is going to be a people are the monsters movie. No, wait, it's going to be a little bit supernatural. No, wait, we're back to people are the monsters.
Yeah. What does this movie contribute to the horror canon? Wow, great question I wrote for us. No, I think this is an important question. I do think this was a significant movie, and like in horror, I think it subverted expectations in a new way. And I also think it showed that you can have a really scary movie that is not emotionally upsetting or like visually disturbing. I felt even the gore, like even where the mother is, like bashing Keith's head in, it was not as disturbing as Midsummer.
And I always like to, or I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I like to appreciate or give credit when a horror movie has sort of a compassionate villain, which they did excellently in this. Also, just for the sake of changing up the tropes, I enjoyed that they went for the inbred freak thing, not in Appalachia. There's enough of that. Like, weird stuff happens everywhere.
Michigan's full of freaks too. Um, what do you think the film creators were trying to say? I think you have a much better sense of what the film creators were trying to say than I do here, because you've brought up a whole bunch of points that I was not even aware of.
Yeah, I think kind of one of the earliest things that we see and kind of spreads throughout is this idea of trust and expectation. Because city people are prickly, right? Not very trusting, but sometimes you have to be, when you're in that bad situation of there's nowhere to stay. So playing with trust, I think, was good. We see that in the flashback too of, we're in the 50s or whenever it was, more trusting time. And hey, it really shouldn't have been. And I think, again, English teaching, you could view this as sort of an allegory for generational trauma of, we have Frank, he's fucked up. That's just a fact. And then through several generations, you end up with this mother character who, like, on the face of it, she's bashing people's faces in. She's beating people to death with their own arms, keeping people against their will. But she doesn't know better because that's what's been passed down. And, just all of those off behaviors, like, if that's what you grow up with, if that's all you see, like, that's what you get.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think related to the theme of trust was this idea throughout the movie that women have to be cautious in a way that men do not, because you have that with Tess arriving at this house. You have that with this woman in the 50s who lets this man into her house. And that's an interesting parallel how differently these characters respond a few generations apart. And you have this situation with Justin Long's co-star, like the sexual assault situation. So that was definitely a theme about, and not just that, like you see when Keith goes into the basement, like Tess has been in the basement. She's seen the murder room. She tells Keith about the murder room and he's like, I have to see it for myself. He doesn't have a thought of like, I shouldn't be down here. Or like, I'm going to get out.
Yeah, and even when we're first seeing this sort of hidden basement, there's a rope to a hidden door, and Tessa's first reaction is just nope. And, curiosity ultimately gets the better of her, but yeah, just instant no, not this. Well, I know it's bad, but I still have to check it out.
Yeah. So that was one theme. And the other theme that I've been seeing across quite a few books that I've been reading lately is this idea. I'm going to apply it to men, but it could apply to women as well. The theme I've been seeing in the media I've come across has applied it to men. Again, I'm not saying it only applies to men, but that men have to believe that they are good. Like Justin Long has to believe that he is a good person. Frank has to believe, like Frank would rather kill himself than confront the reality of his actions or face accountability. Actually, like the more I think about it, I think it applies not just to men, although typically in media that is how we see it applied. But I think looking at our own country, looking at countries globally, people don't want to believe that it's hard to accept that your actions cause harm. And I think we see that in like the resistance to confront, the reality of historical situations. I mean, maybe this is not a good topic to dive into.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah, very few people, I think, are willing to admit, not even to a really harmful action, but even just could be perceived as selfish action. And obviously, as you get further into the morally gray and beyond, I think the reactions get a lot stronger. And we do see sort of a brief evolution in Justin Long's character because he's facing allegations, at least for sexual assault, which, initially kind of brushes off, plays the victim card, tries to rationalize all this stuff. And then he has this meeting with Frank, and, there's a little bit of, you know, oh my God, this guy's a monster. And then that realization of like, hey, I'm not that far off. Like, this could really become the same thing. And he tries to start a redemption arc for himself. Fails really spectacularly, but, it's there's that coming to terms of like, okay, what I did was really bad, but I'm not this, and I don't want to become this.
And to that end, it was a hilarious moment when he's trying to justify to Tess why he threw her off the roof, as if you could justify it.
Yeah, and that kind of brings his character around. Also, like, really further humanizes the mother character, because she jumps off the roof to save this Tess that she doesn't know, but just feels this like maternal instinct towards. Like, literally throws herself off the roof, saves Tess's life. And like, this is a very, in her own way, very caring and loving character.
Not only does she not know Tess, Tess rammed a car into her. Like, Tess has literally tried to kill her, and she still essentially sacrifices her life to save Tess. Okay, shall we rate the movie? We've already kind of rated it for scariness, which again, I think I rated it an 8 and you rated it a 5. What would you give it for overall quality? I think I'm going to give it an 8 for overall quality and an 8 for scariness.
Yeah, I would agree with the 8 for quality. Yeah, the filming was good, casting was good, great jump scares. There was a little bit of that goofy identity crisis of the movie itself that I think maybe detracted a little bit. But again, it was a pretty good choice for not making it like a really heavy, heavy, disturbing movie. So maybe an 8.5 is a little more fair.
Yeah, and those moments with the mother where she's just like ba 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 ba. Yeah, they humanized her, but they also brought like a levity where it's almost charming, and yeah, you leave the experience with a smile, you know. Um, are there any horror movies you're looking forward to watching next? I guess what's our next movie?
For once, I don't have anything on the radar. Um, yeah, I will be along for the ride for any seasonal movies. And yeah, I'm interested to see what comes out. We're in summer blockbuster season. We're about to be into spooky season. I'm just excited to see what happens.
Yeah. I'm really curious about Bring Her Back. I tried to avoid any spoilers. I actually don't think I know really anything about that movie. I'm going to try to avoid trailers as well. But I've been seeing a lot of people say it's really upsetting. So, of course, I want to watch it. This weekend, watching a few movies for upcoming recordings for the podcast for folk horror season. And during folk horror season, I think I'm most excited about the film The Medium. I mean, we haven't scheduled anyone to watch The Medium, so I hope we do. I mean, in any case, I want to watch The Medium and probably talk about it because it looks really scary. Also, The Other Lamb. Did I show you the commercial for that one? The trailer for that one? Oh, it's cults. So that's always fun.
Actually, I'm going to change my answer because I just remembered. I do want to watch the Megan sequel, whatever they call it. Yeah, the first one was more funny than scary, but It's a horror movie. It counts. And yeah, I think it'll be a really fun time.
I agree. And speaking of that, I want to see Companion also. So lots of movies to see, lots of things to do. So much to see, so much to do. You don't love me. So that was, thank you, Ben, for joining me. I so appreciate talking to you. I hope you will come back and talk to me about more horror movies. And thank you all for listening. Love you. Bye.